Hey, it is Cher and you are watching the Style and Stewardship channel. So today I wanted to show you some of the things that I like to do to kind of get ahead of the week. And I don't do this every single week. It really just depends on my lifestyle that week, what's happening, and all of the demands, which I am sure that you know. But I wanted to film this just in case it would be helpful to you. I like to prep kind of in a batch cooking way, so I don't make a bunch of little individual meals. I make large quantities of separate things that we can put together and kind of eat as we want to throughout the day, just to make things a little easier, especially when it comes to things that take a longer time to cook, like proteins, and sometimes you just don't feel like cooking. So I typically make enough that would get us through for about 3 days, because that's only as much as I have room for in my fridge, and it's one of the things that just makes things easier for us. So I'm gonna show you some of the things that I just make big batches of. Sometimes it's a recipe that I've just come up with that we love that I made for dinner, and then I just 1 week and I'll end up making a big batch of it. So I'm gonna show you some of those things, and then I'd like to go ahead and prep some proteins just so that they are done and they are out of the way and they are cooked for the week. Sometimes I will freeze them after they cool off. Sometimes they're in the fridge and then we can just eat off of them throughout the week. So let me show you some of the things that I like to batch cook. So pretty much every single week we eat potatoes, and we eat a lot of potatoes. So before I even prep anything for the week, I look to see what needs to be made. So these are just some little sad little sweet potatoes, and I'm just going to go ahead and use these in a recipe, or I'm gonna bake them on a sheet pan. And that's just one of the easiest ways that I've found, just to go ahead and make sure that you have a side that you don't have to think about and you don't end up throwing out food. I hate food waste so much. I think it's because I'm one of 7 kids, and I remember like my mom just really scraping things together to make sure that we had something to eat, along with my grandmother. And I do not like throwing away food. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't work off of a meal plan. I plan around the things that I have, and I make meals out of it. And that's just my approach. It's always been my approach. Sometimes I'll do it as far as my family saying, hey, we loved X, Y, and Z, can you make that again? And then I'll plan to make it that week. But that's really the only way that I plan. I find it easier to just work with what I have on hand. The more real whole foods you buy, the easier it's going to be to meal prep or plan and even grocery shop. So I'm gonna start with these little sweet potatoes that need to be cooked. So I'm gonna go ahead and skin these and chop these up. I'm only skinning them because they're not organic. And a lot of times I like to remove the skin on anything that's a root vegetable that's not organic. These were a great price, so I got them. Do what works best for you and for your family and for your budget and all of those things. So I'm gonna go ahead and skin these and preheat my oven. Okay, so I have some chicken thighs, and I am going to add salt. So I'm adding about a teaspoon of salt to the top. I will season the bottom. Parsley, I'm gonna add half of that. I have marjoram. I just put about a teaspoon in this cap. Crushed rosemary. This is the brand that I use. Our seasoned chicken, I just rub that in on that side. And then I have a Dutch oven that I am going to heat up. Avocado oil. I'm just gonna add about 2 tablespoons of that to this Dutch oven. You can use a skillet or whatever you would like. And once this heats up, we're going to place our chicken skin side down. So I'm actually going to start with about half of an onion. I'm just gonna saute this in the oil just to give it flavor. I'm actually gonna remove it because right now my husband, he is doing low FODMAP, so I'm just doing this to just season the oil basically to give it some more flavor. I'm gonna scoop this out, the onion out. I'm just gonna add the skin side down, and then I'm going to things that I really like to do, even if I'm not going to go ahead and cook them, I like to go ahead and prep them. So this is just some organic zucchini. I usually do some sort of stir fry or chicken with like some sort of ginger sauce and some rice, and usually kind of just a quick and easy weeknight meal, or egg roll in a bowl or something like that. And then the other thing, carrots. I like to get the whole carrots as opposed to the little baby carrots. Speak words. So I like to get the whole carrots as opposed to like the little baby carrots, because they're just sitting in a bunch of water, and typically it's chlorinated water. Here's the thing, I still use it, but if I can, I like to go ahead and get some organic carrots. I love to get the giant bag from Costco, but there was a recall on it a while back and I haven't gotten them from there since. They're probably fine now, I just haven't gotten them. So I'm going to skin these carrots, and whenever you're doing carrots and you're not going to use them right away, you do want to submerge them in water, which is why when you buy those little bags, they have water in them, because they easily dry out. Once the skin is off, then it's going to dry out very, very quickly. So I like to go ahead and cut these up. So we have things that we just kind of reach for often, or I make often just because it's so easy. One of those things is going to be to make a big batch of rice. You can make rice in the Instant Pot in 4 to 5 minutes, and that's exactly what I'm about to do right now. So I have some basmati rice, which is my absolute favorite. I just feel like it goes with everything. It's an Indian rice, it's aromatic. Jasmine rice is also amazing too, but any rice that you like, go ahead and wash it. I like to wash mine and soak it. I like to soak it for about 30 minutes and then rinse it like 5 or 6 times until your water runs clear. And then you're gonna place that in the Instant Pot and you're gonna cook that up. So you make a big batch of rice. Then I put a little bit of salt in the rice, but I don't put anything else, because for the week I might want to take that rice and I may want to have gravy on it. Or I may want to take that rice and put it in something like a sushi bowl or something like that, or some sort of stir fry. So I keep my seasoning simple until the day that I actually make it, or reheat it rather, so that it tastes appropriate for whatever it is we're going to be eating that night. And just in case you're wondering, like, it only takes 4 to 5 minutes to make this rice, why don't you just save that and make that for the, for the day of? And the reason why is because rice and potatoes have a starch that gets released after they're cold. So it's called resistant starch. And what's gonna happen is your body does not digest this form of resistant starch, but your microbiome, your good gut bacteria do. So this is fuel and food that's literally going to feed your gut bacteria. So this is what we would call a prebiotic, which is a type of fiber that is not broken down by us, but it's broken down by all of our good gut bacteria that we want to make sure stay strong and healthy, because they help us to stay strong and healthy. So that's why I'm going ahead and cooking it, because once it cools off, you're just going to get that benefit. Don't get me wrong, some days I'm making that hot rice straight out of the Instant Pot or wherever I'm making it, and I'm going to go ahead and have it like that. But I just wanted to share that with you in case you're like, why, if it takes only 4 minutes, why is she not just making it the day of? And it's already out of the way, and it can be put into so many different things. So I like to have some already on hand. So next up, I'm sharing one of my absolute favorites, and this has been a go-to. It involves shaving some Brussels sprouts, adding some turkey bacon and some delicious flavors, and roasting it. And it is one of the best sides, and sometimes I'll eat this just by itself with like a piece of chicken or something like that with it. I'm gonna show you exactly how I make this. I'm gonna pour in 1 tablespoon of melted coconut oil, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of Dijon. Next up, we are going to get everything mixed and combined. This is what it looks like. And now we are going to pop it in our preheated oven for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees on the lowest rack. I'm going to go ahead and grab our potatoes. So I put these at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes. You can cook them for as long or short as you like. And depending on the size, it's gonna impact the cook time. I shared these last week with sweet potatoes. I'm obsessed with making making potatoes like this. I love I'll let you check it out. Look at that. So yes, and they're extremely hot, but I worked in a restaurant for years, so my hands, I feel like there's just like a certain amount of heat that I can probably tolerate. And there. So here are our, I call these half-baked potatoes just because they're cut in half. I don't know what to actually call them. But we have these now. One of the things that I like to do with that, once you have your side, everything prepared, is so much easier to put other things together and to put them together the way that you would like to. The other thing that I did was I went ahead and cut up our carrots. So I just gave these a nice little cut. I actually ended up cutting up just one of the zucchini because they were so large. So this is gonna be sauteed with some chicken coming up this week. And I'm also going to put that rice in the Instant Pot. So I'm going to have a stir fry that's basically ready to go. And that one comes together within, cooking the chicken 15 to 20 minutes. And I just slice up our chicken breast really thin. And that's something that I'm gonna wait until the day of to do, because this actually takes way more time than cooking the chicken. But some of the things that sometimes I will go ahead and cut up the chicken, but many times it's easier to just do it the same day. But we have all of our components ready for it. The other thing that I was gonna share was those onions that I sauteed in the avocado oil. Avocado oil is very neutral in flavor, so it doesn't pick up a ton of flavor. And because of that, I can take that and put that in my stir fry this coming week. So those are some of the things that I like to do, as well as I have this small container of sweet potato cubes. I will actually eat these cold on a salad, believe it or not. They're just really, really good. Once you cook them and those caramelized flavors come through with a little bit of kosher salt that I placed on them, you can pretty much pair them with anything, or they can be a side for something. So those are some of the things that I like to prep. I have my rice in the Instant Pot. It's going for 5 minutes, and I just put equal parts of rice to water. Sometimes I make sure that the water is just above the rice, and I mean just above it, and I give that 5 minutes. This does not work with brown rice. I don't typically eat brown rice. It can be really, really hard on the gut. So I like to stick to just white rice, parboiled rice, jasmine rice, and basmati rice is my absolute favorite rice. Next up in my pot over here, I'm just steaming some organic green beans. I just get those from the frozen section. It's a big giant bag. I'll show you what it is. So it is this giant bag that I get from Costco. It's about $9 in my area, and you get 5 pounds of green beans. So I'm doing the organic green beans. I'm just steaming those with some kosher salt, and I might add a little bit of, once it's done, I might drizzle a little bit of olive oil, but I don't cook it in the olive oil because olive oil does not need to be heated to a really, really high temperature. So that's what I'm doing with that. So that's gonna be another grain that we can kind of reach for as far as having a side. And I also have the Brussels and bacon in the oven for another side that I love, and that's typically what I'll have for lunch with like a piece of salmon, or which I'll make that actual day. I don't want fish sitting in the fridge. That's just, personally, I don't love that flavor. But this is what I get. I share it in grocery hauls all the time. You can find that on my channel. And I don't have all of these recipes up on my website yet, but you can check and see which ones I do have. At the recording of this, I'm not sure if it's up yet, but you can always check styleandstewardship.com if you're looking for a recipe that I've shared. And then I'm also going to put one more thing in the oven. I've been in the kitchen for about an hour and a half, and I just kind of clean as I go, and then we have food for the next 3 days. And if we don't get through all of it 4 days, you can always freeze whatever you don't use. And I don't like keeping things for 5 days necessarily, and if I do, I like to kind of leave Friday as a free day. So typically 3 to 4 days is all that I'm gonna prep for. And I need my fridge space too. So we're a family of 3, but we have a lot of things. So I like to keep a little bit more room in my fridge. With the chia seeds, I love to get this in. I like to soak it. So you could also prep some chia pudding. I love to have this as a snack in the afternoon because it's just great at keeping your blood sugar regulated. It has an amazing amount of fiber. It also has omega-3 fatty acids, which many of us are not getting enough of because we always want to have more omega-3s to omega-6 as far as the ratio goes, because omega-6 and omega-3 actually compete in your body, and omega-6 will win out if you're having more of that than omega-3. So we want to have that balance because it's going to balance our inflammatory process in our body. It's going to also help with just regulating our immune function. Not only that, chia seeds are just amazing as far as your gut is concerned, keeping you full, feeding the good gut bacteria, and it's also going to satiate you. Like, this is very, very filling. This is 3 portions. What I like to do is add 9 tablespoons for the 3 days. So 9 tablespoons of chia seeds to about 2 cups of coconut milk. And then I like to put a little cinnamon in there just to sweeten it up a bit. You could add maple syrup or anything like that. But the day of, I might saute some apples and put that on top. I've shared that recipe on the blog. I've also shared it on this channel. I'll link it somewhere. And that's just a really, really, I call it my apple pie chia seeds, because you saute the apples in some coconut oil or whatever oil you like. And it's just it tastes like apple pie. Not quite apple pie. But that's one of the things that I love to do as like a sweet treat. And this is a way to keep it from spiking your blood sugar.
Until next time, your life matters, what you do with it matters. So what will you steward well?